Great. So we are recording the session, so if you do not wish to be on camera, feel free to turn it off at this point here. But yeah, welcome to Shared Visions, the first meeting of 2026. So just have some quick announcements here to kind of go over a few things. Um, First off, in the Discord, there are a few channels. So feel free to take a look at these channels. This is more to kind of help us continue the conversation outside of the meetings here. If you have any questions, if you like to help in a certain area, if you like to participate in any way, you're more than welcome to join one of these channels and we'll be happy to help you out there. I think Joseph, you mentioned you wanted to speak about roles here.
Yeah, so we should all have access to the same channels. They're not restricted by roles or anything, but I did set up Discord roles when I created the server based on some of the skills that people had filled out when they with the sign up form. So I populated those with as many people as I could, but there was a lot of people in the Discord where I couldn't figure out who they were compared to who they signed up as. So if you look at your Discord profile and you don't see any roles assigned, just reach out to me or Jimmy in the server and just let us know what roles you want. They generally fall into these five teams. Whether you're working on the writing team or the app team, and a lot of people have multiples, but just let us know if you don't have any roles and we'll get them fixed. And if you haven't already, um, you can change your Discord username on a per server basis. This isn't going to change it across all your other servers, but it would be helpful inside this server if we knew who you were. So if you've got some Discord handle that you use when you're gaming with your friends, we don't know who you are, which is, if we ignore you, that might be why. But if you go into settings, look for the per server profiles, and you can change your nickname to just whatever name we should know you by on social media or what you signed up as.
Yeah, perfect. So yeah, so just here real quick, yeah, under profiles per server, and then you see you could choose the server and then just update the name there. So we could make sure we're addressing the right person. And yeah, in relations to Discord, also we will be sending out a questionnaire form. So be on the lookout in the announcements there. You'll see we'll post a questionnaire form that we will discuss and talk about later, I guess.
Mhm.
Cool. And so the next thing I had here, so let me stop sharing. So the next thing I wanted to introduce Mike and Paolo here, so they can talk about their respective teams. I guess in no order. I see Mike, your picture here first. So do you want to go ahead?
Sure. We can keep it quick on the intros. I think I was just flicking through chat. I've discussed things with almost everyone in here at this point. So yeah, I'm a 3-decade developer. Joseph and I have been uh, working on things behind the scenes, I guess, if you will, and we have put together that questionnaire that's going to help assess some skill sets for Paolo and I to kind of start refining teams. I know I've had multiple people reach out over direct messages. Is my video super choppy? I apologize if so. Um, and yeah, and it would be really nice to start dividing and conquering a couple of tasks. Admittedly, on the app side, we haven't really pressed very hard forward yet because we've been letting the story develop and the overall experience uh, kind of run its own course. And yeah, I'm really looking forward to helping get this show on the road. And yeah, I'll leave it there.
Yeah, just wait until you see some of the crazy ideas we have.
Yeah, no, that's real true. Yeah, thanks,
Yeah, we
Mike.
haven't we haven't done an assessment yet of those ideas, but
We've got a pretty good short list, and none of them are trivial.
okay.
Awesome. Well, thanks, Mike. Paolo, do you want to jump in here and talk about your team?
All right. Hi, everyone. I'm Paolo. I'll be working on the video editing and video capture team, be working closely with story, directorial, and everyone else. Um, so just trying to get all the questionnaire all sorted out so we can be able to make sure who's familiar with what, compression and editing. I think like one of the things that be planning with Jimmy is workshops on recording and filming spatial and immersive video. We'll be getting a questionnaire out once we have the story sort of wrapped up so we can schedule where folks can meet up so we know their availability. So if there's a camera available, maybe in San Francisco, in New York, folks can come together and record and film themselves. We're just doing this to make sure that we won't have a lot of excess footage. I mean, more footage is always great, but we want to know that we're not shooting too much. That way we won't have too much storage, because storage is going to be our enemy here, because we're going to have to figure out how to, if we have immersive content, how to ship that around the country. But if it's for spatial, we can just use traditional Google Drives. And we've had some conversation about IBM transfer speeds and that's going to factor in once we know who has a camera, who will be filming, how much footage will be there, because that will also depend on, we'll probably just get a hard drive and ship it around. So yeah.
Yeah. And some of us may be filming ourselves, so just, iPhone video or Persona video, stuff like that.
Yeah. And I had a little app that I played around with. It's on a different channel. It's on the Step Into Vision channel, the one that captures ambisonic audio. So it'll work on the iPhone, I think 15, 16, and 17. I probably should just put that out. It'll record ambisonic audio using your iPhone. So if you want to capture soundscapes, you can use that.
Yeah. Can that record audio and video at the same time?
I just did audio, but I can make it do video and audio. I just did audio because I wanted to have like a raw recording from the mic.
Interesting.
I'd love to check that out. What format is it recording in?
Right now, it's at MOV and MP4, so I can store them in APAC. I have a work in progress that's capturing it in CAF. That's kind of been breaking for me, so that it's in test flight right now. It should be.
Okay. Oh, I'd love to check it out. And is it like first order ambisonics or
Yeah,
yeah.
just first order. But
Yeah.
if you interpret it as third order, it'll have a much higher fidelity, which is what Apple suggested: is record in first order, interpret it as third order, and you'll have a higher fidelity.
Fantastic.
Yeah, that sounds awesome. Yeah, definitely let us know about that. Awesome. Well, today in our agenda here, we're gonna have Mel go over the FigJam results and talk about that. And then afterwards, we'll have Oliver speak on regards to the UX part. So Mel, if you're ready, I could pass it on to you.
Yeah, cool. Thanks,
Yep.
Jimmy. Let me share my screen. Okay. So essentially, the next kind of steps with the story will be, so what we've done is we'll finish the dot voting, then kind of identify the popular ideas, and then kind of go through some of those popular ideas, and then determine maybe what proof of concepts we might need to develop just to see if we can bring them to life, and then maybe start testing those ideas, and that will sort of start giving us a foundation for carrying forth and just being able to tell that story and create a nice narrative. Over the next week or two, I'll start proposing some interview questions, get that kind of in shape, and then present it to the group, and then maybe start shaping some of the key ideas into a high-level narrative. So we did the workshop. We've got a lot of really nice ideas. There's a couple that did stand out as being, pretty popular. So this one, and then also this one. And I think it's kind of interesting because there seems to be a nice synergy between between these two. So I've kind of pulled these out and then put them together. So I just want to just recap. Is everyone kind of happy to sort of move forward with this as our shortlist?
So I have
There's
one
any-
other suggestion I wanted to mention, or at least advocate for. It was a late come suggestion from Matthew Spendlove about the idea of using meta balls in the spaces. And I think this actually works really well with the other two ideas that we had kind of promoted to the shortlist. Rather than necessarily having a digital twin of a physical object, like we had talked about, we could have a little blob or shape that is with you that can morph into different things. It could sometimes be a camera, it could be a light source, it could be a Vision Pro or the Blackmagic camera, but it could be this kind of thing that morphs into and out of other stuff and moves around. And we could use that as a way of drawing users' attention to where they need to look if we're kind of moving them around a little bit. Yeah, I just thought that was he talked about it at office hours 2 weeks ago, and
yeah. I mean, I think it's good to have a lot of these ideas sort of in our back pocket as well, so we can kind of maybe come back to some little bits and pieces that we can kind of pull into the project. But I think as a kind of a core foundation, these kind of ideas really sort of have a lot of potential, I think. So do we want to kind of revisit some of these ideas and maybe talk about how this might look in practical terms?
yeah.
Did we wonder, I know you said that there was still going to be some more dot voting. So is that like just in terms of process, do we want some more folks to vote as well? Or
yeah,
like
it's kind of been open for a few weeks now.
Yeah.
Is there any kind of did you get to do yours, Andrew?
Yeah, no, I did mine a while ago, so I
Yeah.
wasn't sure, because I saw your post that you'd opened it up again, and I wasn't sure if people hadn't got a chance to vote yet. But yeah, I mean, I have no problem with going forward with the ones that they're obviously the ones that, and I think I said this to you in a side conversation, Mel, but I think there's a lot of overlap between I think Sam had something that was also about an object that kind of moves around and follows you. So I think there's a lot of, sort of synergy, if I can still use that word. But yeah, I think those two seem to make the most sense.
Yeah, I think the fact that we've kind of got some clear standout ideas, I think we can sort of move forward with that, I think. So maybe Oliver, if you want to just kind of recap this concept, and we can talk a little bit more about that.
Sorry, I was just finding my mute button. So this was just something that popped into my head when we were having that last session, was that vision itself is, there's a lot we can play with around that can influence. And, one of the things I'm very conscious of is the key artifact of all of this is the videos, right? Like, we don't want to get in the way of the videos with things. We don't want to distract from that. We want to let people get to it. But on the way, we can present the journey through that in different ways. And to me, the vision aspect, the aspect that we can play with, things like fog, or as people have added to this, the tools allowed the fog to be cleared, or Mel's dry ice and things like that, or prisms, transparency. This idea of us going the narrative path of going through from, it all being foggy at the start, and then the tools helping clear, and the Vision Pro helping clear the path, the community helping clear the path. And then that opportunity potentially for refraction as well, is even though there's one light, that we are all different aspects and contribute in different ways. And to me, and we'll talk about this more when we get to the UX, is that's an opportunity to go, okay, well, we've got different ways of viewing these video clips. and that refraction might be a nice metaphor to do that, whether that's UX roles, roles like UX versus dev versus design, or whatever that might be. But it just gives us a metaphor to utilize there. And then, of course, the future vision, the crystal ball gazing. If we do want to talk if people are being interviewed about what they see the future of Vision OS as being, then that's sort of a common metaphor as well. So people might relate to that. But just it felt like it was light enough to overlay and not get in the way. But it was also, it had enough opportunity or diverse range of things that we could grab if we wanted to utilize that was sort of along the same path.
So we've kind of got two ideas, and this is that sort of that atmospheric cloud idea, and then we've got the idea of the light being shaped in different ways. I think between this and Joseph's idea, I feel like the lens could be a really sort of nice sort of object to sort of carry that narrative. I'm not sure what we could do in terms of maybe having the lens in the space where it maybe sort of acts as a window or bends the light in some way. But that could be interesting. Joseph, did you want to kind of maybe talk a little bit about this one as well?
So essentially, this was kind of just an idea of having a 3D model, or essentially a companion that is with the user in the space. So if we are looking at dozens of videos popping up around us, something almost like, I'd use the analogy of a projector, like a Vision Pro projecting the video streams out. Sometimes it may need to spin and morph and move over here to kind of draw your attention to the next thing. So it was kind of based on that. And then I had kind of, when Matthew brought up the Meta Balls idea, I kind of liked combining his idea with this. So like, de-emphasizing, having some physical objects like the Blackmagic camera or the crystal ball or things like that, but having a consistent thing that ties them together using that kind of morphing or something like that. The other thing on the other topic of the fog versus the light being kind of two parts of that other idea, I do think there is a case to be made for a fully immersive version of the scene versus being able to dial the crown back and still be able to watch the video, but not be in an immersive space, would not have your pass through included. So we could have some environment assets that we rely heavily on the fog and atmospheric effects in that space. And then if we can do something with the lens and the light that works in both the immersive space and in the pass through, I think that would be particularly interesting.
Yeah. I'm just thinking about maybe ideas for some kind of a projector, or because the Vision Pro doesn't specifically project things unless, well, it does sort of very close up.
And I love the idea of just like, even if we can't see where it's from, but like an overhead beam pointing at different things.
Like you're in a movie theater and you've got that sort of, yeah, that could be interesting.
I was just wondering too, because I love the idea, like a lens is obviously very powerful as, a transition from one thing to another, right? When you kind of look through it, and then, but it to kind of, just in the spirit of combining ideas, like if it was the lens, like the one there, kind of like the round shape, and it was like a meta ball that then, if it's morphing already, could morph from the meta ball into a lens and then back again as like a transition, as you're kind of like moving around from scene to scene or, space to space. Seems like those could work together possibly.
So I'm curious how this next phase will work. Like if I kind of feel like a cat who brought home a bunch of weird artifacts and left them on the porch for the UX team. Like we brought some light and some fog and some lenses and some meta balls. Like, what can you do with this? And then
MacGyver it.
Yeah, and I think that's going to be part of the thing, right? Like I think they're great starting points, and then we can explore sort of the more lower level elements of the user experience, and then shape how they could fit together. And some of them might resonate with some of the structures and some of the approaches that we're taking better as that evolves. So I think it's good to have them all as options, that shortlist, and then we can see how that plays out. From my perspective, and Mel, obviously,
So
I don't think we need to make a specific decision like right now, but
So from a technical perspective, I mean, creating like an atmospheric fog in the environment, like how realistic is that?
That's quite easy
Okay.
It would be
So
great to make like
in
a,
an immersive space,
yeah,
I should
yeah.
say.
yeah. The fog shaders are relatively easy at a distance. It's kind of hard to do fog around things that are close to you, but at a distance of like if we have some kind of beautiful backdrop and we're increasing or decreasing fog, that's doable.
Could you do like a low level sort of fog that has occlusion, like around the objects that are in the space?
Kinda. It looks like crap.
Yeah.
What I've seen so far.
Okay.
Yeah, there's also some weird window artifacting when you do particle emitters behind the glass effect. You get some weird masking that happens if just for the record.
Mm.
I also like this kind of sub idea in the Vision Pro section. I threw a screenshot in there from Reality Composer Pro. That is the shader graph equivalent of the glass material that is used in Windows in Vision OS. And we can use it on 3D objects, including anywhere we can use a material. So we could use it on the metal balls or as a kind of a unrevealed state on a 3D model. You can swap it over with something else. So I'm thinking of the lens ideas. If maybe we have some kind of curio cabinet of artifacts from all of our apps and experiences and things like that. They all show up in this kind of plain glass material before they have been touched, but watching them in the documentary could reveal them, or just holding up the lens to them could be an interesting way. Give the user some kind of lens mechanism that they can kind of take around the experience.
With the meta balls, I mean, if that was almost like water in space or something that kind of has some transparency and then becomes more like a solid glass lens. I mean, that's really playing on the liquid glass that Apple are using. And like if you actually had liquid glass that was creating specular highlights and had some transparency, it feels technically very challenging, but if you
Yes.
could pull it off, it
We're going
would
to
be
share
pretty
that.
wild. Yeah.
If the
I mean,
metaball thing was to go forward, I would probably opt for there's a way to do that that would be a lot easier to program because you could make multiple USDZ files that all go from the standard metaball to the object they're supposed to go to.
Exactly.
Right? So you have this default metaball shape and you morph it to whatever you want. And you make the next one, you morph it to whatever you want. And then programmatically, you could build an animation controller that went from either default metaball state to Vision Pro metaball. But then if you needed to transition to the next one, you'd be basically going play that animation in reverse back to its metaball state and then to that next USDZ metaball thing. So I mean there is a way to accomplish that that doesn't make everyone crazy and also puts the 3D artists involved in the process into a lane or a pipeline to develop something that doesn't the functionality would not change if they were to update those assets or make them better or iterate on them further. You just got an animation controller that's playing through certain frames and reversing through certain frames.
So another part of the MetaBalls idea that I was kind of thinking about after Matthew told us, um, I was thinking about the Logitech Muse of using this as a tool rather than just having the MetaBall, giving it two transforms and having some program that just says animates it from point A to point B. We could have an artist in our community draw out the paths that the MetaBalls follow between each segment. And I don't think this MetaBall needs to be there every single transition for like quick cuts. I think this is much more for uh, we're doing segments of a chapter or transitioning between chapters, things like that.
Yeah,
Um,
it's your guide, right? It's your Clippy.
yeah. But having a way to do kind of more artistically drawn paths of like we're over here, now we're moving over here. Maybe we can do some interesting shapes that way and capture that. And that could be something we could ship with the app as like something that you could play with as well. Make your own paths and connections between things when we get take you to the kind of library of everybody after the experience. So that's probably more complicated than it needs to be, but it was just an idea I had.
Cool. Yeah, I mean, I think I'll hand it over to kind of some of the devs to kind of maybe play around with these ideas perhaps and
Could we work
look
up
at
like a list of like uh, I don't know, tools or like a palette of like ideas? Just like hand that to the UX and
yeah,
dev.
yeah, I think we can do that.
That's pretty much where the app's going to
Mm.
start from, anyways, too. It's going to be a pretty basic initial UI with a bunch of different video players and a bunch of different little experiments that we're going to start, being able to close slash open sourced into the community and start, adding functionality and bringing more people in.
I know last time we were also talking about possibly prototyping, and what that might look like and what tools we might use there. But it seems like just some very, MVP kind of things, but just like initial experimentations with some prototypes with interactions, I think would be really useful as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
Agreed.
yeah. The part of the app where if Mike fires up Xcode and starts working on the app, they can play the timeline and show multiple videos, stuff like that. Like we don't have to do the UX discovery in that project. We could spin up as many other projects as we need, go down some parallel paths and see what works and what doesn't.
So
And
I
some of these
think,
ideas may just lead to something else. Like if the lens idea doesn't work once we put it in the headset, but maybe it points us immediately to something that does work or something like that.
yeah, so I think from the ideas that we've got and what we've talked about today, I'll go away and propose some interview questions, and then if any of you guys want to sort of develop or start working on a few basic, really high level prototypes, then we can kind of make sure that we tie that into the high level narrative of what the core concept is so that we're not departing too far from that. I think that could be kind of a next kind of challenge.
So do we want those questions and that narrative? Do we want to use any of these words in that narrative? Like if we use glass a lot, do we want to incorporate glass into those questions? Light?
Yeah, I think there can be threads that we can weave throughout. Um, it's not going to be over the top. This is not like, we're not going to be talking about fog, but we will talk about maybe ideas coming into to clearer views or something like that. So there might be a few questions that kind of lead us in that direction, knowing what our visual elements are, perhaps.
If you think of the three ideas, the fog, the lens, and the light, they're all three different ways of bringing something into focus, essentially. Like you can't see what's now, but if we remove the fog, you can, or if we increase the light, you can, or if we give you a lens, you can. So if we think about it in those ways, of like these three different mechanisms for unveiling something.
Yeah, I think it's a really good kind of foundational point to kick off from, bringing things into focus. I like that. Cool. Well, I might stop sharing there, and yeah, do we want to move to Oliver's section? Any other thoughts?
Hey, Michael, can you make super detailed immersive spaces that feed all of our criteria?
Yeah. I mean, I'll say the same thing I've been saying for 30 years. Anything is possible. Uh, you're not experimenting hard enough as a developer if that's not your answer. But whether or not it ships to production is a whole different question.
Right. Or this year.
Any other comments before I jump into things?
Go for it.
Okay. So this morning, we've sort of piggybacked on the back of this session. I'm away for a couple of weeks, but we thought it'd be good to just sort of seed some initial thinking, or do some initial thinking, I should say, so that we can contemplate that over the next couple of weeks, or you guys can continue while I'm away. I'm going snowboarding in Japan, so I'll be back in 2 weeks. And really sort of identify a couple of the key elements that we want to address. And so what I wanted to do quickly this morning was just have a quick iteration of the app audience. And this is specific to the Apple Vision Pro app, as different to the video that we might be playing at a Let's Vision conference or something like that, right? The linear video that plays different. So for me, the application for Apple Vision Pro is going to be a more specific audience than the overall projector audience. So the second thing is the concept model. So I'll talk a bit more through that and just explain that. We find it really handy, like in our day-to-day UX work, to create a concept model for the projects that we're working on. This sort of is a very simple approach to visualizing the key elements of the interaction, the relationship between the core components. And what we find is, if we as a group sort of can agree on an approach at a high level, then that can act as the North Star, and we can just check into that. And it's not to say it can't evolve over the course of the project, but it's just a good reference to go, hey, we think this is the most important thing and this is secondary, or we think that people will approach this way and then into there. So that will affect the way that we might present information and so on. So I'll talk more through that. And then I sort of went, let's go almost to the other extreme of looking at those, you know, if you think of Brad Frost at the atomic level, what are the core elements of this experience going to be? And they are going to be video clips, right? So I wanted to have a quick look at the information architecture around a specific video clip, because there are elements there that we might be able to leverage back up into the overall user experience of the application. So just 3 core things today. So we'll start with those. So really simple, as I mentioned, the UX, the app audience. I just thought I'd jot down 4 key points. And again, this is based on the previous discussions we've had. But I'll go through them and then we can have a discussion around them. So to me, the primary audience are Apple Vision Pro users, right? People who have an Apple Vision Pro are familiar with applications in general on the Apple Vision Pro, and are people like us, for want of a better term. And that's always dangerous, obviously, from a user experience design perspective. But I think, you know, we are a very specific community, and we will be, my expectation, and again, I'm just putting this forward as my understanding, because things popped up in other meetings where I went, oh, I hadn't thought of that before. But so that's just my perspective, is that's the main audience. And then there are people who might be Apple Vision Pro interested, so they might be borrowing a device, or we might be lending that device to them to watch this new app experience and to see the story of Apple Vision Pro and Vision OS. So, or in a perfect world, it might be a very short experience in an Apple store, right? As part of the app journey, they might get to experience some of this and those types of things. Apple, we noted as a secondary audience as well. So, as we go through, are there things that we want to make sure that we're doing that appeal to Apple? And, whether that's obviously sticking to things like native technologies, other things that Apple want are more likely to promote us because of things that we're doing. And again, open to the level to which, we might say actually Apple are a tertiary audience, or we can change that. And then for me, I just wanted to articulate that in my view, this app is specifically for people within the Apple Vision Pro, although for people who don't have access to Apple Vision Pro, then there is still an outcome, a thing that they can experience, which is the linear video. But it's not the role of this application to deal with that. So I'm just trying to articulate that.
Mm-hmm.
So I'll open that up for discussion. Thoughts, feelings?
I wanted to clarify the linear versus library ideas. So when I talk about the linear experience, linear story, I mean inside the app. You press play. This is the shared vision documentary, and it is made of dozens of individual clips, but it is held together by a timeline that plays them and knows what to show at any given time.
Do you want to call it rectilinear video? Oh, well, even like
no. This is it is.
What's the term?
It's the story, the shared visions documentary. So I think Mel has this on a slide in one of the Figmas. There's the main story. There's like two parts of the project that we're making. The shared vision documentary, which is a combination of hundreds or thousands of clips told through a timeline that are surrounding you in space. We're using the platform's way of showing multiple videos, moving them in space, things like that. So think about it as an immersive experience that you go into that plays 20 to 40 minutes. And then there's also a secondary feature that we may roll out of like longer videos that are focused around an individual or a team or something like that. So like here's a talk with GME or things like that.
Totally understand that. The question is, are we also creating a video that is going to be shown, say, Let's Vision launch, like or WWDC, that is not experienced in the Vision Pro, right? Which is just the documentary version of that.
That was not my intention. I don't see how the story that I'm telling outside of the headset.
Okay. So that's
maybe
that's great.
Just picking up on your comment in the chat, Joseph, but maybe it's a trailer. So it's like a 2 or 3 minute, sort of reel almost of just pulling together the highlights and giving the shape of it. But
just use it as a marketing piece.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
and
perfect.
Yeah, because one of the things I think, if we're going to have a video that's just non-AVP, people start asking, why, if I can watch it here, why can't I watch it in the headset? So the trailer has to show sort of the interviewee speaking and shows a trailer of what do you get viewing it on the device? Like, what are those experiences that you can, those affordances that are only available on device? So maybe like a trailer or a longer featurette or something.
Yeah, that's something we can definitely do. A trailer that shows kind of what the experience is, and maybe also some social media videos of like some first person video of actually using the app. Several influencers in our community. We can ask for help with that stuff.
Well, that's great to understand. Yeah, because in the previous meeting, because I always thought we were just doing an AVP app, but in the previous meeting, I got the sense that we were doing this other version to be played at Let's Vision and Dub Dub, but that's clarified that. Any other perspectives or thoughts or audiences that I've missed?
I feel like, and this ties into the previous one, but Apple is obviously a big organization, but it seems like it might be interesting to think about within Apple, the audio, like the marketing is going to look at this differently to technology, for want of a better term. Like I see like it being a very powerful marketing tool for Apple, potentially.
Yeah. So the
and
public relations folks are already on board. Like, let us know how they can help. Super enthusiastic. Same with the community.
yeah,
And I'm meeting with them later today, actually, to see how they can get more involved. But one of my hopes with the Apple as an audience is, how do we kick this up to higher teams and make sure that somebody sees this? I would love for this experience to win an Apple Design Award or
yeah.
App of the Year or something like that.
And later on, like as I said, I think this is if we can articulate who the audiences are and the priority order in effect, it'd be great in future session or in between to go, okay, based on that, what are the things that we need to do to ensure that it will to get to closest to the Apple Design Award as we can? What are the things that might influence the creative process to make sure that we're doing that? Are we saying, do we think, does everyone agree that Apple Vision Pro users are the main audience?
So I think there's kind of a subsection of the main audience that I want to keep in mind, which is we're making this as a piece of software that should hopefully exist for a decade or more. I want this to be a snapshot in time. So when people imagine, getting an iPhone 10 and watching a YouTube video about the first iPhone unboxing and just seeing the progress between the original iPhone and the iPhone 10. I want, people wearing super tiny smart glasses in 10 years to be able to see the community of people who made that possible.
Mm-hmm.
I think the main audience could also be separated in terms of like passive users and active users. So people that just want to sit back and watch the documentary, as opposed to people might want to, click on an object or try an environment or something. So we need to be mindful that both users are kind of catered for, and that might be like your basic user as opposed to an advanced user. So maybe
it's almost like lean forward and lean back, right? It's like, do you want to interact with it, or do you want to just let it wash over you?
Yeah. And also in terms of like extra devices, like not everyone has the Muse Pen. Probably only a few people have the Muse Pen, and things like the PlayStation controllers. So some of those are a little bit kind of niche, but some audience people will appreciate.
Yeah, it would be cool to have some Easter eggs that are there. Like if we don't have it as a feature, but if they happen to turn on their Muse while they can start drawing in the air or something.
Yeah.
All right. Any other comments on audience? So, Joseph, you mentioned this group in the future. What about more in the short term? So it's us or people like us?
Yeah, so
for want of a better term.
So
anybody else?
It's us. It's the Apple Vision Pro community. It's the people who watch Justin Ryan's videos and Phil Trout's videos. I do want to capture when we get around to actually interviewing people. I don't want to just interview us. Like I obviously want to be a big part of it, but I want to talk to people who aren't just creating for this thing, but who are using it every day. The power users, the people who game in it with friends and family, things like that. So I want to. I think both Phil and Justin, and they do a really good job of letting people know what's possible on this platform and why it's different than other XR headsets. And I think kind of taking that attitude with them of like capturing why this platform and why Apple Vision Pro is different, why we're building for it or working on it is worth doing compared to like, why don't we just do WebXR? Why don't we just do Quest development?
And Justin and Phil formally engaged in the project, or in terms of, I'm not saying that we have to, but
Phil signed up, but he's been pretty quiet. He's in the Discord. Justin, I invited, but he never really responded.
sure.
But I'm sure if we ask, he would definitely help. I don't know. I don't
Yep.
know. And by sign up, I meant like sign up to make this thing.
Yeah.
I know a lot of people are willing to help in other ways. So.
Yeah, and it's I suppose it might be good to, maybe they don't want to be in the day-to-day of it all like we are, but maybe at some point we go, hey, it'd be great to sort of run some ideas past them and get their feedback, because they would know their audience very well, and if there are things that might appeal, we'll just go on to that.
Ian Hamilton from Upload VR is also one of the people who signed up. When we get around to kind of interviewing, he offered to help with some of that. But he's a VR veteran.
Yeah, right. Okay. People who are interested as a secondary audience, like who might be just borrowing a device, popping it on, etc. Are Apple a secondary, or are Apple a tertiary, or interested people are tertiary and Apple a secondary? Any comments or thoughts on these two?
I kind of think of Apple as the secondary.
And then the Vision Pro interested as tertiary, or still secondary, but 2A, 2B?
Yeah, I would say the third would be like people who are interested, people we can show it to at like trade shows or conferences or events.
Film festivals. Also.
Definitely film festivals. I was just about to jump in there. Was that there's a huge opportunity there for people who don't own it, to experience it.
Yeah.
All right.
Well, who would try it if they had the opportunity, but maybe they don't currently have the opportunity.
Exactly.
Wonderful.
And obviously all the big like Tribeca Immersive and South by Southwest and Venice, and like there's a bunch of places where you could take advantage of that.
Yep. Tribeca.
Does anyone know how to speed feature it? It's driving me mad.
I think maybe it's one of those new hybrid words.
Okay.
I think you got it right.
Yeah.
Might have an umlaut. Or accent.
Any other audiences I think that's great, those trade shows, film festivals especially. Anyone else that we think we need to include that we haven't?
I think that covers it.
Okay. I think I mentioned this certainly in the first UX meeting that we had, but we have this thing, not unique to us, but we utilize it, a concept model at the start of most projects. So after we've done our research, our primary research with the audience, we sort of collate that research and get an understanding of those underlying needs and behaviors. And then out of that, generate a concept model. And they're probably the simplest way or analogy is to sort of similar to a model in architecture, where we're putting together a very basic model that shows the relationships, the proportional sizes, the ways of accessing, the ways that people might move through a space. In the same way that you might in architecture. And Mel, jump in. You obviously got a much stronger architecture background than me. But we use it as a sort of analogy to go, okay, for UX purposes, let's create a concept model, which is a high-level map of people's approach and interaction with the planned service. And given who we generally work with, like people within business, etc., we keep this super simple. So we just make it circles and boxes, and we use relative sizing and things like that just to show priority and arrows for relationships and so on. So best way is obviously to show you. So I did a bit of a quick put together. And again, what we'll do is I'll show you my thinking and explain the concept model a bit further. But then I've done a bunch of duplicates of that maybe we can spend 20 minutes playing around with each of us and come back and have a discussion around that. So for me, what I've done here as a quick sketch to put it together is, as you can see here, like we've got the entry points, and one of the things that I'm doing a talk on AWE and Azure is widgets. So I'm a big fan of widgets at the moment. So AVP widgets and widgets in general. But to me, there's a clear opportunity for us to create a widget for this AVP app that lives in people's experience, right, in their spatial computing experience, and is an access point. Now, is it going to be the major access point? Probably not. People might still mainly use it. Not everybody's going to put the Shared Visions widget up on their wall. So you can see here that the main entry point is still going to be the app icon, i.e. that app icon box is larger than the widget. Now we can debate whether widget should be half that size or whatever. But you can see there that relative importance, the app icon is going to be the dominant way that people enter this experience. The widget might be used by some people. Then they're going to come into the app experience, which is this outlined dashed white box. And there's two things that they can experience, as we were talking about before. The linear video, which just plays from start to finish, as Joseph was mentioning, and goes through. It can still have all those 3D atmospheric elements. It can be a combination of 180, spatial, all those different things. But basically, it's that lean back experience of just sit back and watch.
Could we rephrase that as like the linear story to differentiate it from a video?
Yeah, sure. Sorry. Story. Can't even spell story this one. It's 6 a.m. You have to excuse me. And then there's this other thing and this is the way that I'm thinking about it currently, is that almost there's the linear story presents itself as the primary thing, and the linear story circle is bigger than the video clip circle. But in my mind, one approach we could take is then that linear story is surrounded by a whole bunch of video clips, right? And at the bottom, or somewhere, wherever we decide to put it, there's a filter. And as soon as I interact with that filter, the linear story sort of drops away, and those video clips then become filtered, like the filter applies to those video clips. So I might go, people's first experience with AVP, that might be a filter. Or, we could have that journey as elements of the filter. So first time they used it, first time they watched video, or whatever those journey points might be, versus something like, I want to watch video clips about designers who are working with the AVP, or whatever those elements are that we want to break that down. So it's a different way of interacting with the app. And so we've got it there. And then the third element that I thought was fundamental was access to an about, right? So this could be a little icon somewhere in the corner that lives up there. It could be a floating, AVP headset that we've talked about. It could be the Metaballs, but there might be something that draws us in there. They can find out more about Shared Vision as a project. So the whole the video project that we're doing, the people that are involved, and maybe step into Vision as well. And that could be as simple as, hey, if you want to join the community, go to Step Into Vision. It doesn't have to be pages and pages of content. And each of these things might be completely different sized, right? So that was sort of the approach there. So that, as you can see, it's very high level. Like, we're not trying to cover everything. I've done the things that stood out to me as the three most important components. So the linear story, the video clips, and about. You might have completely different takes on this. So what I've done is I've just duplicated that. If you're the first person to put your name in on that green post-it, that box is yours. I've given you the elements. You can obviously resize those, change those, move it all around. You can take away the dashed line. But if you've got any questions about the process, but hopefully it's fairly high level and simple enough. Any questions, thoughts?
I do have some thoughts is, instead of it being video clips, would it make sense if they were people and stories? So if I were to think about it, like if Mike has 5 video clips under him telling about his developer journey, Aegis score, or something else, he would have 3 videos under him. So the filter would be like, this is Mike's story. Sorry for using you as an example, Mike, but something like that. So instead of when you search a video about game, you'll have like 50 videos or 30 videos of game, but it's spread out. So I don't know if you want to like,
Absolutely.
yeah.
So this is where I've tried to keep, and it's always this balance, right? So filter is a placeholder essentially, and if we jump ahead a little bit, one of the things that we'll go do next is specifically the video clip information architecture, right? So date, time, format, name, so person, Mike, location, role, all the things we could filter on. And I'll come back and we'll do that as a next thing. So absolutely, the filter can mean whatever you want it to mean, and then we can define those elements, those more detailed elements next.
And would they all be video clips? Like, obviously there could be, like a 3D asset or, other kind of, not everything is going to be contained. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's a question, right? Like, I hadn't even thought about that. So, as we've now got the Ursa 3D camera, does that fit in somewhere? I hadn't thought about that at all. So that's the opportunity now. Why don't we spend sort of 20 minutes, but still happy to discuss it. About what other things we could bring into the experience, people can interact with.
So if I can just give a little background about this second section, the linear story of the Shared Visions documentary aside, the second section, this kind of got added to the project relatively early, I think in our first community meeting. And it need not be too complicated. It is mainly a way for us to have longer videos, essentially, of like, we may only use 30 seconds of me in the documentary proper, but maybe at some point Jimmy sits down and interviews me for 20 minutes about Step Into Vision or something. That could be a place for that. And we could get as many of those as possible. One idea we had with that is like we could actually get the app out there and start releasing those over a couple of months, 1 or 2 videos a week, getting people familiar with the people who are in the story, and then release the Shared Vision documentary when it's ready. So when we think about it that way, of like, these are maybe 1 video per person, or maybe multiple videos if we talk to Mike every year or things like that, or he wants to talk about different topics. So thinking about it in terms of like, do we filter it by people? Do we filter it by topic? Do we filter it by this is a creator versus a storyteller versus a power user versus someone who uses it to connect with people, or things like that. So I think as an MVP, we could obviously just ship a list of videos and just like, with a unread status or unwatched status. But I think there's a lot of potential there for how do you make it more interesting, let people explore them in a spatial way.
Yeah. I really like that opportunity that allows us, because while it might have initially been the long form, I think we can do super short snippets as well, right? Because it's almost that opportunity for people to curate their own video experience, right? So that we could actually have, and in the back of my mind is, you go, okay, show me the UX designers talking about their first clips, and that might be 10 people talking for a minute each, out of their total 10 minutes, right? But then I can put that in a playlist essentially that just goes, oh, great, I'm going to watch that end to end. And that's my version of the video, rather than, I'm sure I'll still watch the whole linear video, but yeah.
Cool.
Okay. Any other questions, thoughts?
Is
Have
there
people started? Has everyone got access to the board? I assume we do, but
Yeah, do you want
if
to throw the
anyone doesn't.
link in the chat just in case?
Yeah, I don't have that.
10 minutes starting now. How's that sound? Let's see where we're at then. Has someone done that for me in the chat? Or
Yeah, can someone put in the chat?
here we go. Chat. There we go. There you go. It's in the chat. I'll stop sharing for a minute while doing that. And even if you just want to put comments on like post-it notes on mine or on other people's, or just dump a bunch of post-it notes for other things that we might not have thought about that relates to this, if you don't want to re-architect the whole thing or put in some other aspects. Michael, I love that 180 intro I did. Who's that? Oh, Joseph with the credits as immersive. Three minutes, 3.5 minutes. Nice one, Paolo. Thanks for those, Tim. Post-its. One minute. Moods beats colors. Christian, nice.
Sorry? Did you say Oliver?
Nice. I was just looking at moods, beats, and colors that you had in yours. I like that.
Yeah.
Sorry, you have to excuse me. What's I18N?
Internationalization.
Ah,
So localization.
yeah. I don't think I've ever seen it written like that.
Yeah, it's the same as accessibility, like a Y11Y, A11Y.
Ally. Yeah.
It's the equivalent, yeah.
I always see this.
Yeah, it's the new kids.
Michael's charging away. Michael gets points for color. Okay, let me share mine. If you're still adding things, feel free. But what I might get some people to just call out theirs and talk. So I'll share again, but then we can go through them. Okay, so share. There we go. Let's look at start with Paolo. Sorry, or do you still want a bit of time, Paolo? And I'll come back.
Oh, sorry, I just managed to log in, but I'll just explain. I wish I had
Yeah.
time. Yeah. So, I was thinking about an intro video, square to 180, just harkening back to that. Start with the familiar. So starting with flat screens and then suddenly being wrapped in an immersive space and getting a main menu. The thing that I was like thinking about is within the linear narrative, you have the ability to turn it non-linear by exploring subsections. So you are watching, it's kind of like the Encounter Dinosaurs, where an interaction causes you to just stay longer at a sequence. So you could be watching Joseph's story and then you'd have buttons somewhere there and suddenly you're just inside Joseph's story. You are in Joseph's story for maybe 30, 40 minutes because you just love looking at Project Graveyard. and from there you're like, oh, okay, great. I'll continue on. So it kind of like merges seamlessly. And as you merge seamlessly, you can go back to video clips or you can go back and just continue the linear narrative. When you said credits, my brain immediately thought, oh, what if your eyes were hovering on the credits and it was an interactive button? And I said, no, I think that sounds really bad because I think everyone would be clicking everyone's names. But so as your eyes, actually, it's interesting because as your eyes are gazing on the text, it actually pops up. So it like moves a little forward as it's scrolling.
Yeah. Yeah, I think credits might need its own UX team. We could probably the entry and the credits.
We could skip credits as a second app.
Yeah.
Download the credits.
Nice. Sorry, Paolo.
No, that should be it.
Yeah, cool.
Yeah.
Great. Andrew, you had some great stuff there.
Yeah, I think these probably could have been just stickies tapped on. I was just trying to kind of add a little bit more context. Like I think even for the linear story, rather it would be nice to have some kind of like wayfinding, just so you know, wait, is this going to go for 15 minutes or an hour and a half, or and harkening back to something we talked about earlier, like whether it's a story map or some just representation of the journey you're about to start on, could be helpful there. And then I just a fairly obvious one, but I thought both the widget and the app icon, when they launch into the experience, all three of those options, like the linear story, then the video clips, and as I added there, like other media types objects, like I think there could be more than video clips there, obviously. And then the filters, that to me seems like it's a really powerful tool, just because we can filter on lots, as we were saying earlier, like do we want to filter on a particular person, or do we want to filter on show me only immersive video, or show me only spatial video,
exactly.
So I think there's a lot we can do there. And then just thinking about being able to get to the about, very I think that's going to be an important, maybe it's not hidden under some kind of like hamburger menu or something, or it should be like who are the people, what's the vision, no pun intended, but like what how can I learn about this as an important kind of entry point as well. So I just wanted to highlight that.
Brilliant. Thank you. And skip that one. Christian.
Yeah, similar to Andrew, I think that I need some. So for example, when I consume YouTube, right, it's like I do like to have the transcripts, right? I do like to jump to a certain part or being able to find something, or at least to know like the magnitude or dimension of every chapter. It's like being able to but find, it's like, to me it's an expectation for me. So yeah, that's connected with the chapters and transcript. And I suppose if we have transcript, we have this opportunity for localization, right? It's like make it in more languages, like more accessible, and so on, right? It's like at the end, it's like this is going to be like a mostly visual, right? But we have opportunities to make it more accessible. And then on the sorry.
Yes.
Sorry.
Agreed.
Yeah. And when you say widgets, I love them too, right? It's like I felt like they could be like a jump into a specific chapters, right? It's like maybe you want to be able to have multiple of them in kind of like a gallery that you could play with it, right? At the end, I don't know how fresh is going to be the content. I don't know if we're gonna release it and the content is gonna be stale, but yeah, also it's gonna be like a lengthy to consume it, right? So I suppose some playfulness could be beneficial for the navigation. And on the filter, I
Nice.
agree too. That is, to me, it's like a, yeah, super powerful, but at the same time, it's like I don't enjoy classifying people. I think it's risky. I think
Sure.
it's risky, like putting people in just one segment. And I
Or you
think,
can be in multiple, Christian. You can be in multiple. You don't have to be in one.
yeah, I mean, I'm going to be, but at the same time, right? We have these conversations about like a one color per skill, right? And that's something like to me, I think I'd rather prefer subjective filtering. It's like on this, I want this playlist of like of moods, right? It's something more relaxed where people is like mostly quiet. I don't know. It's like if I want to filter all the, because I suppose the videos are gonna have like a different color spectrum. So maybe like I do some color analysis, right? And I want to see all the blue videos, right? So go for the subjective, go for the people that speak slow or speak fast. Like it could be fun, who is the faster speaker, right? Who's the slowest, right? Like maybe something that could be cool for making a playlist. So yeah, I have a relaxing
Well,
playlist on my music app, which is Lego pieces, right? So it's like a white noise of people playing Lego, and it works, right? So just to make the parallel.
more abstract
Yeah,
approaches, more fun in engaging. Nice.
yeah, and
Love it.
and that no, sorry, I forgot like bloopers, right? We make a lot of
Yeah,
mistakes,
I love that.
right? It's like we make mistakes recording, right? So maybe it's interesting.
Yeah. I
I
expect
love
I'll do
the
a
idea
few
of
of
the
those.
widgets as shortcuts. Like, I mean, and just going back to, if we're talking about at our lens metaphor, maybe there is, we obviously wouldn't want a whole lot, but maybe there's like for the main sections, there's like a lens widget for each one, and that's just a way to jump into that section straight away. And then obviously you can still from there go back and do your wayfinding, but it's just could be a nice way to kind of drive home that metaphor outside of the app experience and get you into it.
Yeah. Yeah. 100%. 100%. Do we have? Oh, of course, Michael.
Yeah, I don't want to like co-opt anything. I'll just say that I've had pretty good experience with using 180 videos as transition points. And I'm usually, just FYI, I'm not a video guy. I'm a 3D animator, so I'll 3D generate 8K stereo or 360 stereo. So that's a really cool way to do a transition point. So when you actually like click on a button and you're going to something. The other thing is that I've been building this, and a lot of my projects in the last 7 months or so have been building like immersive sets, immersive scenes, whether it's a city or whether it's like a model or whatever. And then the videos are actually components of that scene. So you actually can look at, let's say, again, like a New York Times Square, and there's a whole bunch of different videos playing. You press the video, and then you go to a 180 into that scene. It's been really successful
Lovely.
with convincing clients to do that as far as a higher level interactive video interaction solution. Not saying it's the right thing here. Just know that as we've developed this project along, if you're looking for 180 or 360 video stereo transition points, I can help you with that because I've got a big render farm here in my shipping container, and I can certainly generate the 360 transition points. But consider, and I think this goes back to what you're saying earlier about having the three-dimensional component in the app itself. If you want to, you can include those videos as elements in there, press the button or press the action, and then go to the 3D scene. So we're talking about the Apple Vision Pro as a tool and the lens as a tool. Okay, it'd be hard for us to get the lens to have a great optics as a three-dimensional object, but it wouldn't be hard for us to create a 360 stereo video that shows the three-dimensional model, and then you zoom into the lens, and then that takes you to the transition to the next scene. So I guess that's all I'm saying is you definitely mix back and forth where you go from 3D to 3D visualization experience. Okay.
Yeah, I love that, and I could imagine with the Metaballs approach as well, right? If you've got all these blobs which is sort of the video clips moving around. And as you say, you could click on them and go from that object in the surround into the 180 for that. So that's great to have that flexibility, that opportunity to
Yeah, just think about it.
interact
You
on.
bet.
Yeah.
Could you also, because I loved like in What If, and I think the original version of the Gucci app, I know they've changed it, but the transition from kind of like more of a pass through or something just in front of you to full immersion, like it kind of wraps around you. So when you go into that environment, it kind of like takes over, but then you come back out of it, but you don't have to do anything. It happens for you, you know, in the right way. That could be very powerful because it just like literally wraps you in that experience, and then you come out the other side of it.
Exactly.
Portals, right? We mentioned portals several times, right? It's like the Disney thing, right? Like crossing a portal and you're in a different world, right?
Yeah, it's a portal.
Nice. Roz, are you still with us, Roz? Sorry, I can't see the list. Yes, you're on mute. You're on mute, Roz.
I was really just watching the ideas. And
Sure.
again, just trying to echo some of the ones that I thought were interesting. Again, I don't know how it would fit in, but one thing that's really special is grabbing photos of everybody seeing Vision Pro for the first time, because you do get quite an amazing smile.
Yeah.
Generally, when I put someone to a headset, I will grab a photo just to remind them they've done it, remind them how much they enjoy it. And again, that's sort of, I think an important part is that people were experiencing it. So another idea, but again, I'm in many respects, I am just listening. Just
No, totally fine.
Bigger plan. Yeah.
I love that. And even if, you know, over the next however many months we're playing with this, you know, everybody grabs one little 3-second video of somebody having that first experience or something, right? Where they all go, oh, wow, like every time. And obviously with the Apple Immersive, the Experience Immersive videos, like it's an easy one to do. Joe?
So mine is basically just your original ideas with some changes at the end and the beginning. So on the widget side, I love the idea of doing some stylized movie posters. So we've got that larger widget size. I think that could be really cool. We could have 5 or 6 different posters that it cycles between, or let the users pick a specific one or something like that.
And it can change over time, right? Like we might add more clips in, and then we want to call people's attention to some new clips being added or something.
So there's the library of clips. Since they become, you know, we can have the longer form things that we talked about, but also other clips on other topics. There is an unannounced project coming from Stefan Division that you'll be hearing about very soon. We may want to send Shared Vision folks to document that.
Right.
So things like that, there'll be many projects like that over time. Do we want to send people to WWDC and, you know, talk to the Vision Pro people there? Publish some of those clips in the app. Those clips probably wouldn't make it into the main linear story at that point, because it would be either too late, but maybe we're working on the next year's story or something like that if we do this every year or two. So I also thought about
that's fascinating. You know, just to stop there, I think that's fascinating, right? Like that you almost turn it into a volume, right? Volume 1 was 2026, volume 2 is 2027, or whatever approach we take, but that it is an evolving project as well as, you know, to mark each point in time and the evolution. Love that.
Maybe we do a volume every time they actually change the form factor for the headset, not just an M5 update. So in terms of the library, I thought about ways of tagging things, you know, tagging them by, are they a storyteller, a creator, a developer, things like that, versus tagging the clips by content. So we could kind of, you don't have to pick one or the other. We could have multiple ways of, you know, this clip is tagged. Think about it as like hashtags. This clip carries this bundle of hashtags. It can show up in any one of these collections. And then for the outro credits, I thought about what about just kind of borrowing from film and doing a credit scroll as an immersive space, and maybe we could even be kind of a little cheesy and have a couple of photos or montages mixed in with that. So
screenshots of these wonderful Zoom meetings that
Figma.
That's where
for
you
the
could do
creative
the
process.
bloopers. That's where you
Jimmy's,
could do the bloopers,
yeah, exactly.
like the Pixar movies used to do the bloopers with their animations.
Yeah. Have I missed anyone? Any other ideas, thoughts, comments? Tim, sorry, for some reason I went over Tim's. Tim, yeah, do you want to talk through yours?
Yeah, no, I did sticky notes because my Vision Pro
Yeah.
was giving me trouble with Figma. I kept grabbing other people's stuff, so I just figured this would be safer. I got my Mac out. I like the idea you guys were discussing earlier about having sort of centralized place where you would see people maybe with badges on them. Not that it's a competition, folks, but with how many things they might have underneath them. And sort of a variation on that as a centralized hub where you kind of land in the app and then you can find things by people or by areas of Vision OS or categories of areas of interest. Because I mean, if you look at the group of us right now, some of us are video producers, some of us are 3D producers, some of us are like I'm a master of all kind of thing. So that people may have
Podcasters.
people coming in, yeah, exactly, podcasters. People may be coming in and have particular areas they're interested in, and they'll go to, right, kind of thing. And then, yeah, somebody mentioned credits earlier, and I just thought about some of the 3D movies I've been seeing lately, where the credits, like I always watch the credits because I know a lot of people in the film industry, and it's just out of respect you watch them, but and you never know. I mean, I've found old friends of mine from university who appeared in movies by watching the credits, but
Yes.
yeah, I like the idea where, they have like blooper reels or stuff running during the credits or little animation things to sort of keep people engaged while the credits are scrolling by kind of thing, right? So,
Yeah.
like I'll tell you, when I see
So,
credits in a video game, I always skip ahead.
so we need a creative director just for the credits and a whole
Yeah.
team, a UX team for that. Brilliant. Anyone else that I've missed? I think that's everyone who had a board. Okay, hopefully that was useful. I think what I'll do is I'll collate a bunch of those ideas and pop that into a model. But I think all of that, will fit together. There's nothing sort of. I was just wondering whether there's a completely different approach to it, but it doesn't look like that's popping out. So now, as many of you have already expressed, and feel free to essentially duplicate your post-it note or your note from up there. Like I've already gone. Joseph had these other types, so I've added those into here. But as I mentioned, for each video clip, we're going to have the metadata essentially, right? Associated with each clip that we can filter on. So obviously the date, the time, potentially the length of the clip, the format, whether that's Apple Immersive Video, whether it's spatial, rectilinear, the name, the location. So that might be state or city, state, country, etc. And then the role. So I just jotted in a whole bunch. This is my take. So what I'd love now, and what I've tended to do is done a version, locked it there, but then over here, why don't we all put post-it notes on different aspects? So Christian, perfect. We can do a post-it note here, or just bring down your text from above about mood and beats and things like that, because that's another element in the metadata that we could potentially use, right? And of course roles. If anyone's, just grab a post-it note from down the bottom, drag it up, and pop it sort of near where makes sense, or feel free to copy a box and just duplicate it and put it next to or wherever you think it fits, or throw an arrow in. So I think here we can play around a bit. So it might be as simple as just copying and pasting what you added up the top. But let's just do, is there any questions about that? We'll just do 5 minutes on that maybe. I'll start the timer. Yell out if you've got a question. 50 seconds. Three, two, one. Looks like everyone's sort of pretty much done, but feel free to keep going if you are. Michael, we'll start with you. You'll post it. I'll share the screen again.
Yeah, and
With
this just
us?
goes back.
Oh.
This goes back to what I was saying before. And still, I'm a kind of a one-hit
Mhm.
guy. No, just the idea to use that there's an interactive scene that you can use, and if you all decide you don't want to, that's fine. But I find that it's just visually dynamic to see action and motion and be able to choose. Most people aren't expecting that, but it may not go
Mhm.
along with the fit. It's just if you do want to experiment with it, I'm happy to help in that area.
Brilliant.
What
Thank you,
about
man.
what about having like a couple of curated like top level filters that have dedicated 180 or 360 environments crafted for them? So kind of like almost like a mini documentary where we have curated 5 or 6 collections, and here's the music section. We've got a little environment with some.
Yeah, that would be awesome. I would think that'd be great. Certainly, the one thing that you get with this is you can have a very high resolution and very if you wanted the full 360, which is hard to produce anyplace else, you can produce a full 360 experience. Yeah.
Michael, I'm just thinking for later detail. Is there any examples that you can link us to go?
Yeah.
Hey, here's a good just so it brings it to life.
Can I drop a link to a box folder here on the Slack or on
Sure.
I'll do that.
Go for it. That'd be awesome. Thank you. Christian, you were just same. Yep. Just brought those down. I've popped them in.
But I want to add something if I can. So
of course.
When you mention metadata, right? It's like this subjective metadata. To me, it kind of plays well with the semantic search. So if we do analysis of what the people say, right? Like maybe we could search for, sentiment, right? So
that. Oh, sorry, go.
No, that's it.
That's really good.
So I think the key thing to that is the transcript, right? Like, so being able to analyze the transcript of
depends
each
how
video
you go. We could analyze audio too, and maybe we can do something there. I think analyzing video analysis could be more costly, but maybe audio is something we could do for cheap, and we could pre-made it, so we could bundle it on the app. So
well, we're gonna have to do subtitles and captions, at least for the main documentary. And if we have a way to just generate them for longer clips or other clips, we should be able to get transcripts out of them.
That's good. Audio and video. Brilliant. I'll put those in. Thanks for. Thank you. Andrew, you had a couple here. I think those 3.
Yeah. So I was just wondering, thinking more for the overall experience, do we want to, obviously spatial audio is an incredibly important part of the Vision Pro, and just there's going to be audio that will be going with every specific video asset or other assets, but is there like an overall audio soundtrack or even just like an ambient soundscape that kind of helps set the mood, and or to kind of go with our filtering idea or mood idea? Could you have some choices about what you want to play, as that kind of like default? And then obviously you would have some kind of like crossfade when you go into an individual experience, and that would kind of pull back and the audio for that experience would take over. But I think just rather than having it be completely silent, I think thinking about how audio is going to work would be useful.
Brilliant.
And the next one, I was just wondering if we wanted to, like, this is my film background coming in, but like, if we want to think about genre here as an attribute or as a filter, and what might the different genres be, and is there, not just, documentary versus fiction, or, is there some sort of like narrative, like is there drama, or is there, I don't know. It's just, I think that there could be some interesting things to explore. I think that the experience of immersive cinema is almost like its own genre, so, but I think there's just another kind of thing to noodle on there is how might we categorize the different kind of, video assets. And then the last one is just under all of the roles. I thought maybe a separate, do we want to call out like, my audio focus again, but like composer or sound designer, or as people who are kind of like helping to construct the audio experience.
100%. Well, Ian, thank you for that. That's brilliant. Yeah, and I'll actually I'll duplicate this, and it's sort of similar to Michael's, right? Like it's a tool, or it's an element we need to think about in the overall arching experience that we want to articulate. So I'll pop it up there as well.
Cool.
Thank you for that, Andrew. And then I think Joseph, last one.
So I just kind of expanded my list to kind of ways to tag things by people or types of people. Also think about tagging if we have clips that are about maybe Oliver's talking about a project he's particularly proud of. He wants to talk about that. We want to filter by apps or productivity or games or things like that, musical experiences. So I thought about maybe this might be a little bit harder to do, but like, can we tag clips or people based on their origin, what they were doing before Vision Pro? Did you come this way from iOS or from VR, or were you a lawyer, like something totally unrelated to this before this? And then I also thought about some tags or filters for events. So if we have clips from a big event or a WWDC or a community thing, something like that. And then maybe kind of almost treating the app as like a way to do serialized content long term. If we wanted, I don't know if this is a good idea. I think this could probably be a podcast or a YouTube channel, but maybe it could include that content of like, longer form interviews with people or teams or communities as kind of episodic content that comes out over time after the original documentary experience is done. That could include the people who aren't here yet. So maybe people who showed up and built something new, but don't consider themselves part of the community today.
Yeah, sure. And I think some of those sort of long form versus fit nicely into what Andrew was talking about in terms of genre almost, or there's some sort of interplay between them that I think we can work out. Where did people come from? Oh, sorry.
Like a good example would be like interviewing John and Alex at LexTech and just like talking about their company. It's not necessarily content for the Shared Visions linear story, but a lot of people would be really fascinated to know who is LexTech, how many people are there, what type of things are you building for your customers, things like that.
Nice. I put the outcomes, and then essentially I think we can have all the App Store categories, right? It's just so that there's familiar, and you go, oh right, well it's easy for a designer or developer to go, oh well, we've got an app in the utilities category and the game category or something like that. So we'll add that in. And then I really like this, where did people come from? Because I think that's sort of, if we think about the end experience, it's like, I want to see stories, like if we're aspirational, of people coming in, having this experience going, I'm currently a XYZ, a VR developer. I want to see people's stories who've come from from that background and where they've gone or what they've gone on to do, essentially. So I think that'll be interesting as well. Any other thoughts, comments people want to jump in with? No? Okay. I'll collate that and put it all and update those models and draw all together the concept model info as well. I'll do a bit of it while I'm on holidays. It shouldn't be too hard. But if you have any thoughts in the meantime, feel free to jump back in here. But just let me or Jimmy know that you've changed something and updated something, and I'll jump in and have a look. So that would be great, or on Discord, obviously, as well. So,
is it okay if I take a couple screenshots of this for the blog?
Of course, absolutely. I realised halfway through I had things like that. What was I going to say next? Oh yeah. So Jimmy, do we want to arrange for? I think we were talking about the next session potentially when I'm back, which could be around the, do we say the 20?
I think it was like
20
around
oh,
the
sorry.
26 or something. Or is that wrong?
Sorry, I'm in the wrong month in my calendar, so that's
No
not
worries.
really helping. Monday the 26th is fine with me. I'm back on the 22nd sort of thing. So yeah, any time that week, the Monday the 25th, should be pretty good.
Cool.
Yeah, if we have anything else between now and then, we can set something up. If Mel has more story for us, or Mike or Paolo want to get some team meetings set up, we can definitely do that too. So
Brilliant, but thanks for everyone's input today. Appreciate it. Back to you, Jimmy.
Thanks, Oliver.
Yeah, thank you so much, Oliver, and thank you, Mel, as well. Yeah, I think that's everything. I will have this recording saved, and so you can view it later. If you need a refresher, go back. Also, make sure to look out for the announcements on the questionnaire that's coming out. And yeah, feel free to use the Discord if you think of something in the meantime, have any questions or any additional thoughts or something. We can definitely have the conversation continue outside this meeting here. So awesome. Yeah, with that, I think that's it. Joseph, do you have anything?
nope, that'll do it. Thank you, everybody. Thank you, Jimmy, for running the meeting today.
Of course.
Thanks, man.
Awesome. All right. Thanks,
And
everyone.
thanks, Michael, for
Thanks,
that link.
everyone. Yep.
Hey, Jimmy.
Yeah.
You got just the right real light, no, for the background, right? It looks
Oh
like
my
a
gosh.
completely integrated, right? No, I
Yeah.
mean it's like it's like a super hyper real. So I love it.
Oh yeah, it's
Uh,
perfect.
I needed to say that. Sorry.
No, you're good. You're good.
Bye bye. Good luck. Enjoy.
Great job. I got to get to another meeting.
Yeah. Awesome. All right. I'm going to end this here and I will talk to you guys soon.
All right. See ya.
Awesome. Bye.